I started this channel kind of by accident. Uploaded some gameplay footage, used my, shared name between all the accounts that I had. And I thought to myself, yeah, this is kind of cool, seeing some gameplay footage, Armored Core. But then, I wanted to take it a step further, show some funnier videos, at least to me. And then, as I started seeing more gaming news, I wanted to throw my towel in the ring or whatever euphemism. And now here we are. I'm talking about gaming news, and yet at the same time, I'm cursing everybody. Sungrad, Hassan, possibly gaming companies. Who knows? Alright? Well, happy Monday, everybody. Now, we're probably, going to see some of the most funniest, upcoming videos straight out of LTG and the like. I bring up LTG because it's like he's reached mainstream status with Asmongold and LTG, and I bring up, Asmongold a little bit. I'm not gonna take credit because obviously he made that comment on the whole like ridiculous case where you have one lady who, said some unfortunate words to some kid apparently like robbing her, and then some other, black kid who stabbed some other, white kid in the chest in front of like pretty much everybody, including his like twin brother. It's like, made national news. If I were to throw my two cents in for this story, I see this kid as like doing hard time. He's gonna do hard time, right? And the whole family is in this like delusional like, thing where his life is gone. So he started off maybe, having being a prominent child, maybe if he like, smartened up or met like the right girl, his parents would have assumed, he would have been like better off. And now it's like reached such a fever pitch that, it seems like it's a black versus white, type of issue where it's not. It's a kid that's going to spend the rest of his like, capable life incarcerated, rightfully so. But it's also kind of like the sadness that comes with it. At least if I was the parents in this instance, like it's like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to tell your kid who's suffering from like a terminal illness that they're gonna die soon or whatever? Like there's no medicine for them. No, you're gonna be like, no, you're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's the kind of hysterical like response that you get from like a lot of families, and like they don't seem like a very intelligent group of individuals, and they're being taken advantage of by a lawyer. So, say what you will about that. But then, you have LTG chiming in, and it's like, you know, are you the new age black? New age black man? You know what I mean? I find LTG to be the funniest because it's like I said, the future is going to be hilarious. You know how LTG likes to cut off his streams and like take his camera off and like, whatever, right? Like, can you imagine there's tournaments in Smash or whatever, Smash Ultimate Neo Next Gen, Smash 4K, let's call it that. And in Smash for the Switch 2, like you're gonna have tournaments probably, and it like requires like I don't know the Nintendo Eye camera, whatever it's called, and then also alongside that with like no cussing and like having your online account, whatever. Goes without saying, right? Like you're gonna have all these things that is going to be like the limitation. Like you can't rage quit no matter what. Like the people are going to know your face, they're going to know your name, they're going to know your account, they're going to know everything. Nintendo's going to get angry at you. It's like, why are you doing this? If you keep doing this, I'm going to permanent. Oh, it's permanent, by the way. I got it wrong yesterday. I was like thinking to myself, maybe it was just like an anti, piracy measure, or just like something that they just threw in there to like, prevent like large scale theft. Like, so if they steal like an entire shipment of it, they can just like use that as a kill switch or something. No, it's way worse. It's a permanent. There is some. Okay, so this takes me back actually. Um, there were CPS3 games on the arcade cabinets that had like a battery like this, and once it was gone, the entire system was like, totally like bricked, right? Like it couldn't run the games. And yeah, that's why CPS3 and CPS3 games were very unpopular because you buy this expensive arcade cabinet, at least it was back in the day. So this would be like early 2000s, maybe late 90s at the earliest in Japan maybe. They had like those out there, Street Fighter 3s and stuff. And yeah, it was just like crazy. It was like why would they have something like this? And then I don't know if that's what killed the arcade scene or if it was just like, a step away to like go into 3D arcade fighters like Tekken and Virtua Fighter, and Soul Calibur more than just, your average games that, LTG would just like rage quit out of. He's even rage quitting out of Tekken. Now, for all the beef that he gets, he's actually kind of right about Tekken, and Tekken's pretty egregious. Like, I see some of the stuff he can do in Tekken. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Holy. Excuse me. Okay. So, to give a little bit of context and background, I cut my teeth on Tekken 5, not Dark Resurrection, just the original. And yeah, I skipped out on Tekken 4, 3. I played 3 a bit in the arcades and stuff, and my friends had it on their PlayStation. But I find that Tekken 5 was like, my go-to. And even I would admit in that game, there was a lot of cheap things. Like you would have Fenge, he would have his like, downward stomp, and you could just keep spamming it. You pretty much killing every opponent in the game. And I got up to like, the maximum level just by doing that. So there are cheap aspects to this game, but the stuff I saw in Tekken 8 is so utterly ridiculous. Like the priority, it's like almost every move has a Shoryuken priority, if you know what that means in terms of Tekken and fighting, whatever. So that basically means if you throw out an attack and they do their attack hits, even if it comes out, slightly after or like you guys throw the attack out at the same time, he's gonna hit you versus, your move hitting him. And that's like one of those things where, you know, Tekken 8 is just made for. I'm gonna be honest. I did not like the way Tekken was going since 6 because they had that catch-up mechanic with like I don't know if it was if it was called heat back then, but it was just something where you take damage and then you build a gauge and then suddenly you do more damage because you have the superpower. It just seems so anti-Tekken. Like Tekken is mostly supposed to be a fighting technique game, not a like power gauge game where you have like super moves that you throw out and stuff. But now that is very much the case. You throw out super moves that like have long attack strings that are almost unblockable, like and they go high to low, low to high, like mids, all this crap. It's like some of them like even have like command grapples like King, which to be fair in base Tekken, like in normal Tekken games, like he would need something like that because all the characters have, long attack strings, and like to make up for that, grappling characters would need a little something. But yeah, just egregious. So I don't know, like the popularity of Tekken 8. I don't know the popularity of the next Street Fighter, how good it's gonna be, but I'm pretty sure LTG is gonna be popping off on that Smash Bros on the Switch too. Like, dude, it's gonna be the best of the best because not only does he have to be on his best behavior, everybody else does. So it's like you take some of the most toxic, most like trash talking people, and you basically force them to like suck a lemon as they're like biting their lip and their tongue. They're just like, oh, I can't get mad. I paid like $1,000, $1,000 for the new console. $1,000 for the new console. Now, is it guaranteed that the tariffs are going to ensure that the price of this console is going to go up by that much? I hope not, because 1,000 is also plus tax. So yeah, take that into account. At least it makes it easier to help you count the tax. You know your tax amount. So I'm just gonna pay. What is that like? If I were to buy this console, like $130 extra or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm off by the math. Maybe 140, 50, whatever. But that's besides the point. The point being is it's so expensive. Oh no, that's sorry, that's American. So I'm paying way the fuck more, dude. Fuck. If I hypothetically wanted this console, I'd have to like, pay as much as a computer that's probably like, several times more powerful, but doesn't have the Nintendo licensed games that you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement for. Oh yeah, by the way, LTG's got to sign that non-disclosure agreement. So if he fucks up, right, and he gets banned off of one console, chances are the game itself will be like, nah, son, you're just because they bricked your console doesn't mean you could come back on. You can hop back on the leaderboards and stuff. You'll stay in unranked. And you know for a fact that he'll probably do the thing where he's like gonna buy multiple consoles and use like ghost names and stuff. So it's just like to avoid what is it? The whole like restreaming. Like I said before, the people who restream his content are the heroes of the gaming world. Because guess what? Like him and DSP have jacked up the price of the Switch because they know for a fact these guys are leeches, right? They just want that money. Now LTG has the notoriety on his side, and he makes way more money than Dark Syde Phil. But Dark Syde Phil, I have this theory behind him. I have this theory that Dark Syde Phil has like specific people who donate to him, but probably know him like personally and stuff, and they come on his stream to like make it seem like he's more popular than he actually is. So they're just there to like perpetually support him, and maybe it's like a loan situation type of thing where he'll pay out people to come on his stream to donate, and then they'll donate like out of the blue and stuff. Especially like I noticed when like he's like really trying to hit his goal, sometimes he'll magically hit it, right? And it's like you have to thank the people who restream his content, who like make sure he doesn't get any money from it. Like back in the day when YouTube used to pay like enough for like ad revenue and stuff, that was like a big enough deal to do. So you gotta give it up to like people like the Mighty D and Memology, who've been just like jacking this guy up since day one. And just like it was just exposing him because like not only like these guys inspired entire generations of like people to go online and play games and be like general like nothing peoples, I guess. But they are, I wouldn't say on the way out. I think they're gonna be one of those peoples, those kinds of like aged people, because I checked LTG. If the trolls are right about his age that got released and stuff, he's actually older than me, like 1 year. But like, okay, the thing is, so LTG and pretty much anybody who like does the whole flip switch thing, like rage quits, is gonna get kicked off of on Nintendo consoles. I wouldn't actually be surprised if like Call of Duty games and like very popular games, like let's say FIFA, have that feature on already. But like, if I'm not mistaken, you need electronics art accounts to play online for FIFA. If I'm not mistaken, I don't actually play FIFA, so forgive me if I'm completely mistaken in that. But you know what I mean? Like it's like one of those things where it's not just anti-cheater, it's also anti-lamer. People like, not, you know, letting people finish the match because they, leave early, and then the person doesn't get any points. And like, it's like a complete and utter waste of time for both people. It's like, yeah, you could argue that the person who depraved the person who won of points was gaining something, but like not really, right? Like yeah, you could argue that like they don't have a loss on their account over that, right? It doesn't count towards their record. But like also like everybody's paying for the online service and you're wasting your time and their time. Like it's like you're working out and instead of like, doing that last curl on that dumbbell, you take both your arms and you just lift it up that last one time just to get it up that one time. So and it makes you feel like you've accomplished it even though like you couldn't do it normally. I mean, maybe that's a bad example, but like, uh, you know, I just see the future of like not just Smash Brothers, but like if Nintendo goes all out with these games and stuff, it's console, it's gonna have like third party games, and you can't like lame on a Nintendo console. You can't do nothing. I honestly don't even think you could do anything on any console. I don't think like they are gonna allow that stuff for long because I think like LTG got a ban and stuff. But like who needs a ban? I think what Nintendo should start doing? Nintendo should start, you know, banning Dark Side Phil for like asking people excessively on Twitch to like meet the donation goals. Sorry, you are too cheap to play this console. Then it bricks it. It's like, sorry, you cannot afford. And Mario just like, gets a game over screen, and then that's it. Every single time he turns on the console, it just says game over with like Mario and his hands in his pockets, and he's just like, oh no, what do I do now? See, I've become the curse for these people because it's like they know for a fact that even though they this is mostly out of the reach of like the normal person, teenagers, children, maybe like young adults with like lots of expenses and stuff, or people with like first parents. So it's kind of a fucking dick move by the console makers to do this, but at the same time, we finally, after all these years, possibly could be seeing the end of all these lame streamers, and even like ones who like are politically extreme, like Destiny, Hassan, they're just like, saying something. And then all of a sudden their switch is like, gotta switch off. Gotta switch off on you. Gotta switch off. I gotta switch off. I gotta switch off on reality, man. As I tell you, man, like, if you start taking this shit too seriously, you're gonna wind up like Hassan, wearing a bolo tie, all messed up, accusing people, trying to get like, trying to like, throw some shade. Like, I'm actually wondering like if there's ever a meetup, a YouTuber, like a Twitch streamer meetup, because Asmongold is basically one of the top ones at this point, right? And he can go. Nobody's stopping him, right? So if he goes and Hassan goes and they see each other, they like see each other. I mean, this is what I mean by the curse. He comes into like some of my videos. He's like lurking and stuff, right? I didn't know like YouTube had this like thing. If I say his name, Hassan Piker, his like name, his face, and everything is gonna pop up. Like Andrew Tate, like Logan Paul, like all these people. I just like say them, and then like I make the video, and then all of a sudden I'll see their face for some reason. Like Dark Side Phil. Ah, Dark Side Phil. Ah, low tier God. Ah, all these people, they're just gonna show up in my videos. The curse, man, the curse of Azure. I'm telling you, you guys, like, well, specifically DSP and low tier God, you guys can't be doing that. You guys can't be asking too much for your from your audience. You guys can't be using too many of those bad words. Yo, I guarantee you, because of that, like people are gonna be like, "There's no point of us watching this. These guys are so lame now," and then like everyone just like leaves. But most likely, they're gonna like play a game. They're gonna say something, and instead of like realizing that, it's not something that for them to say, it's going to be like too late. The console's going to be bricked, and then they have to go back to the other two consoles or three consoles. They got like PC as well. So they got like, oh crap, I can't play any of my Nintendo games. So, yeah, future's looking up. And also, Grand Theft Auto's so far away in the future. Like, what other games are coming out? We have Ghost of Yotei. We have, I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just like a complete and total blank. Like, I don't care. Like, it's just, I have Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm happy. You should be happy too, because I think I also curse myself sometimes, but like that's the nature of the curse. First you think it's Sungrad, then you find out it's me. Sorry, Sungrad. I'm sorry you disappointed in me, by the way. I disappointed you. I'll continue to disappoint you though, just to be fair, like just to be like, consistent, a consistent disappointment, day after day of disappointing content. So thanks for tuning in. I'll try to disappoint you some more tomorrow. See you then.